because I pressed it.
You did? All right. It happens. Oh, we're video on?
Yeah, video on. Let me do the clap with the sync.
Great. Now you're in our podcast.
Always.
Hello. Welcome to Codebot Podcast. It is Maura, a.k.a. the Yum Yum Foodie. As always, my co-host coughing in the background. There's no cough button here.
Sorry.
Hi, Megan.
I'll quit smoking one day.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. How many times have you fucking said that? Yeah. We are not ventriloquists. There is a third chuckle you heard in the background. I want to introduce our guest. We're going to get right to it because why the fuck not? Because that's how we roll here. Our guest has a BFA in theater tech. I really wanted to start out with that. Has a BFA in theater tech. Speaking of co-hosts, he is the co-host and producer of the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast. He's also Keys. Is it Keys to the Kingdom? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I listened to an episode of that today. That was great. Also the host of Keys to the Kingdom. Welcome to Kill the Bottle Podcast, Matt Gourley. Also actor, married to an actor, voice actor. I wanted to give you one of those
Father.
Shannon
we could
Sharp.
go on.
I don't know if you ever listened to the Shannon Sharp podcast. He gives
He's
these
uncomfortable,
long...
Eddie.
Yeah. Matt's uncomfortable?
Oh, no.
Anyway.
I'm joking. He's
yeah.
like, keep
I
going.
am a father and a son.
Welcome to the show.
A brother.
Yeah. So
sister.
welcome to the show, Matt. Thanks for being here.
I am so excited to be here. As I said when I came in, this thing is 10 minutes from my house and cocktails are being served.
I know.
I'm
And we've
worried
got
that
a
you might
plate
not be
full
able to
of
keep
meat.
me away. What's that?
We have a plate full of meat for you.
Oh, yeah. We
Charcuterie.
have beef. I don't even know.
And like a rack of sleeping masks. I feel like everything can happen here. The natural progression of
Shit,
things.
he realized it's the Dexter kill room.
It's gonna get good.
I think that's what he did. Pull out the plastic.
It's gonna get good.
So, Matt, first of all, again, thank you so much for being here. If my mind serves me correctly, we interacted on a post about rum.
Yes.
And then ended up here you are. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of the beauty of life. So, it is called Kill the Bottle Podcast. I wanted to booze you up on some rum. This is not the first time we've had Hemingways on the show, but to me,
It's the 100th.
it's the 100th.
It's the 100th
Actually, Megan
time
told me the other day we're on our 125th episode or
We
something. And I
are.
totally forgot.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
thanks.
that's weird.
Wow.
But we're drinking a Hemingway daiquiri, and my recipe is, guys, if you're listening, my recipe is 2 ounces of rum, 3/4 lime, half an ounce maraschino, half an ounce of grapefruit. Shake the fuck out of it, strain it, and it's good.
This is almost identical to what I made last night. And I've never made a Hemingway daiquiri before. This is crazy.
Oh, isn't that fun?
Synergy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yours is way better.
I
Way
think it's
better.
just you didn't have to do it. That might be the...
I don't know.
It's
I
always
also
tastes
had a
better when somebody else cooks it.
little bottle of Hemingway sweat that I put in there. My mom handed down to me in a little tincture.
In a little tincture bottle.
Where'd you get that?
Ooh.
It's an old family heirloom.
It's hair. Let's pronounce the H. Let's just start. You know what? Let's start that. Let's
Heirloom?
pronounce heirloom.
Yes, this is very
Yeah.
herbaceous.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, I was mentioning earlier that Megan is very tan all of a sudden. I don't know if it's the white shirt or...
I went to the beach on Wednesday
Oh,
just for one day.
What beach?
wow.
I went to Malibu. I went through the canyon. I don't know what came over me.
I don't know either because I know
don't
you.
like driving.
Yeah,
So I drove extra.
and you drink a lot, so driving is really not...
Not
you
really
know.
in my wheelhouse of
Yeah.
things I like to do.
Yeah,
Wheels and drinking.
I don't know. That doesn't
Anyways,
work.
yeah, so I went to the beach. Now I'm tan. Now I can
All
hang
in
out
a
with
day?
you.
You did all that in a day?
Yeah, and then I had lobster at this place called I think it's Tangaroa, and it's a New Zealand restaurant in Santa Monica, and they have full lobster on Wednesdays, $46 with sides, garlic bread, and I drank a lot of Stella Artois.
By the way, she tried to inhale the food that I had set for you. Thank God I was covered up. You can tell
Really?
right now how hungry she is because
I
she
ate
just
my
took a deep
You
Yeah.
dive.
tried to inhale my guest food?
I
She took a
already ate
deep
3
dive.
You
pieces.
one day tanner.
So Matt, James Brown is the godfather of soul. You're like the fucking godfather of podcasting. I was like, holy shit, how many podcasts can one human being have under their belt? I was
Well-
really blown away by it because I know how much time it takes to do podcasts and just the behind the scenes of it. What was the reason you just said, because you're an actor, you've done a lot of stuff. What motivated you to
It's-
chat?
When
on a
you say
mic?
I do a lot and you call me the Godfather, I appreciate that, but it's truly an embarrassing amount. Like there's no pride left at this point. It's
was just
almost
left it
kind
up
of
for you. I didn't want to say that.
shameful and a little bit desperate. You know, I started doing podcasts pretty early back. Our podcast I used to do called Super Ego, which is like my
Great.
first baby favorite. 2006 we started that, and then everything I've ever done has in some way come from that one podcast. All the other podcasts I do, or the Conan podcast, or a lot of acting came my way because of that. So it was just crazy how podcasting that early could could kind of over time bring all these like little pursuits. It's been fun.
Is it the kind of thing where it's like the word of mouth? Like, hey man, I worked with this guy Matt. He's great. You have a great voice, and obviously you've done improv. So you're already kind of perfect to be in a space where anything can fucking come at you, and you have to be prepped for it, right? But again, there's all the logistics that are behind the scenes. Were you also very good at that? Like, did your BA in theater tech help at all with that?
Well, I suppose, I actually went to school for art and then I wanted to act. So I started doing performance, but then I felt like, oh, that's no kind of a major. What am I going to do with a theatrical performance major? So I did scenic design and then I worked as scenic designer for years. But then I went to grad school and did performance
Pick
for
a
grad
lane,
school.
Okay?
I know. It's the problem. I'm a dangerous
That's not fair
driver.
for some of us with only one.
Oh, I'm not good at any of these things. If anything, I'm thinning out the waters. I'm making it worse for everyone.
Yeah.
I have a similar story because I got my bachelor's. I wanted to do musical theater and I got nodes on my vocal cords. And they kind of said, like, I went to a pretty prominent school for musical theater. It's UNC, University of Northern Colorado.
Okay.
And,
Not North Carolina, which most people would think.
Sounds better.
Yeah.
Or
It is better. Smells less.
University of New Costco.
Yeah.
Oh,
don't
wow,
mention
shit.
it.
After the war,
Now we
there
have
will
to
be a
drink
Now we
it.
have
You
to
didn't
drink.
even
Sorry.
say it.
What?
He didn't even know.
Every time you mention Costco.
I mention
on the show,
Costco
it's
quite
a
often.
word.
Okay. Oh, well.
Well, they kind of told me this isn't going to be a career for you, and I was like, but what do I do now? So I got an education tagged onto that.
Well,
so
Costco
theater
to that.
education at Costco University, and then I got my master's in physical education for no reason.
Really?
And now she has a degree in one-day tanning.
Yeah.
It's this new...
You're a master.
It's a new thing.
I'm just saying, pick a lane. You can either be a good performer or you can be a good scenic tech person.
I don't know what to do myself, and I do apologize. But I think what I realized later in my life that I'm best at is drinking and these cocktails.
Did you realize that right now?
Yeah.
It's crystallized.
So when we came up with this idea of kill the bottle, I was like, what am I good at?
That's,
Not talking, drinking, and then maybe a little bit talking, a little bit somewhere in the middle, But I always liked talking to people about wine and spirits, and I don't know. I became the geek. Like, I won't remember what I ate for breakfast, but then I'll remember the oak barrel that the fucking winemaker told me while it's the weirdest dumb shit that you do remember versus what you don't.
I have a similar sort of thing. I have a pretty bad food memory, although I really enjoy food and increasingly more as I age.
Food memory in what sense? Like recipe memory or where do you ate?
What food tasted like. Even though I'll remember maybe what I had, I don't remember I remember a few that are just like, wow, amazing. But yeah, I'm not experienced enough, I think. I'm
Fair, but that gives you something to look
what's
forward
one
to.
food experience that you're like, wow, that was amazing?
The cheeseburger at Nepenthe in Big Sur. This restaurant that it's high on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's like rare that you don't see whales jumping out of the water.
Is that the one that's at the Post Ranch Inn?
No.
Okay, because I ate at that one. Okay, I just don't remember the fucking name.
It's cheeseburger, and it kind of comes on almost like brioche Subway buns.
Oh yeah,
and it's longer than it is round, so it's like a Subway cheeseburger. And I don't mean Subway like Jared Subway. I mean like Subway shaped. It's so good, so good.
Have you had the one at Father's office? Because they serve it on a baguette style, so that it's like like a fancy Subway where caramelized onions. It's Frenchy.
Oh, sounds good.
It's super fucking good.
I thought you were gonna say the best ribeye or porterhouse with foie gras, like butter on top of everything, and you said cheeseburger shaped like a Subway.
No, I'm a middle class guy at
I
heart.
like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the upper crust stuff, and there's a time and a place, but I think that most of the good memories I have are the finest version of like middle class food. Like not a gourmet cheeseburger. I don't even want to say that. It's like the best, like down and dirty cheeseburger,
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a colonoscopy the other day.
Yeah.
And my first words I know. One day colonoscopy. And I woke up and my first words were, I want In-N-Out and I want to watch Tombstone. And that's what I did.
You're like, I need to see Val Kilmer in a weird mustache.
Yes.
While I have my In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like
that's
that.
just for colonoscopy awareness, Colonoscopy
Hey,
awareness.
I had one too. My mom died of colorectal cancer, so I got
sorry,
to do it.
my dad had colorectal cancer.
Yeah, so we got to do it a little bit earlier.
Same with me.
Yeah.
This is my second.
Yeah, I'm almost at my second. Right,
Costco.
You know what? Costco. I will Costco to that.
You
Yeah.
dicks.
Wait till you get yours.
Yeah, that's right, Megan. No, she's had one. It just it was.
It wasn't by a doctor.
Well, he said he was.
He said he was a doctor.
Well, mine too.
I'm like a middle class, colonoscopy person.
Okay.
I don't like the fancy.
Yeah. Well, this was like in a apartment in Toluca Lake. Is that?
No, yeah, that's a fancy neighborhood. That's fair.
This is on the side of Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah,
boy.
Yeah. There was a coat hanger.
Let me,
it was really interesting.
introduce you to my guy.
Maybe alcohol is making me worse.
I found it fascinating because I'm a James Bond, a bit of a James Bond lover.
Okay.
Not to your level by no means, but part of the plethora of fucking great ideas of podcasts that you have is a James Bond podcast. And where did your passion for James Bond come from?
It came from my dad, speaking of. At an early age, he and I would watch them together. And then I kind of went through that phase. And then at one point in my life, I went through I don't know who else does this, but I feel like every 20 years you have a real downturn. And for whatever reason, if it's circumstantial or just hormonal, I don't know. And I had gone through a bad breakup and I thought, oh, I'm young, I'm theater, I'm going to read every Shakespeare play. And then that quickly devolved into, I'm going to watch every James Bond movie. And I would get high and watch James Bond. And I took a month off work and I just lived like Brian Wilson, never getting out of his bed. And it was one of the fonder, most nostalgic, melancholic moments of my life. And then that kind of stuck with me. And then Matt Myra, who's my co-host on the James Bonding podcast, pitched the idea when Skyfall came out that we should do a rewatch podcast. This was kind of, I think, early days, 2012 as well.
Who was your, I'm going to word this right because I'm sure you've said it a million times with what you do, but who was your childhood James Bond that when you think of it, it's the first person?
It's actually Roger Moore, which isn't most people's favorite.
Costco.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
Costco to
good.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What
Little
happened? This was supposed to be a rare
Moonraker.
Yeah.
Oh,
I adore
come
him.
on.
I adore him.
Oof. View to a Kill. Come on.
We say you're whatever Bond era you're born into is kind of your formative Bond that you like.
Mm-hmm.
I love Daniel Craig. I also love Connery. He's the first, but I have a soft spot for Roger Moore. Then he died on my birthday on my honeymoon.
Oh, no shit.
Yes.
Oh, man. I heard he was super nice. I've heard
Seems
nothing
like
but
it, yeah.
great stories about him.
Yeah. Well, there's the funny story of, not funny, but to contrast, Connery had some domestic abuse issues with his wife.
We've seen that
so
interview.
did Roger Moore, but because his wife beat him. So it just kind of tells you what.
Megan, that's your future husband.
Yeah. I don't want to beat people. That's not what I
Well,
want to do.
folks at home, if you want to see a fun video clip of Matt, listen to or watch the episode of Drunk History where he goes through Ian Fleming. Speaking of James Bond,
And drinking.
it is wonderful. I think that was probably the first time I saw you.
Oh,
was
okay, yeah.
I loved that show. Anyway, so just guys at home, listen or watch that. I think 2015, maybe around that time period.
Yeah.
Who's your James Bond?
Oof, my James Bond is Roger Moore because that's what I remember going as a kid to go see the movie Octopussy, and that was the coolest thing in the
That's
world
the
to
first
me.
one I saw in the theater.
I saw
Can
that
you
in the
guys
theater.
guess mine? I think it's because of our age difference.
Timothy
Pierce
Dalton.
Brosnan?
Yeah.
Oh, Pierce Brosnan. Okay, I was like Timothy Dalton.
That's
maybe?
the first one I saw was him in it, and then I really didn't go back much on the other ones. Don't hurt me.
No.
Okay.
There's a Bond for everybody.
Don't
Yeah.
corner me.
It's there for you to pick and choose. Yeah.
So that's what I was. Cause I was gonna F Marry Kill you on James Bond, Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and Daniel Craig.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
I had to pick the beginning, the middle. Even though Sean Connery's not really the first one, but
This is virtually impossible because you can't get out of it unscathed. You're going to upset a third of the Bond fans, but I think I got to fuck Daniel Craig. I mean, come on. Jesus Christ.
So do I.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
I will.
I think we all do. And honestly, with a lot of his
We could pin him
later
down,
work,
maybe.
Thank you.
he seems game.
yeah.
I think I'm going to marry Roger Moore because what a sweetheart.
And you can hit him.
Yes.
Jeez, Eddie.
What?
I will hit him in I'd hit that.
That, you like that?
Yeah.
I like that.
Much better.
Smart.
And Connery, I wish him no
marks.
ill will. But just by default, I guess, sacrilegiously, I got to let him go.
Yeah, but he did make the comeback. He made the Kim Basinger comeback in James Bond, which was nice.
Oh, yeah, the Never Say Never Again.
Again.
Yeah, again, yeah.
I would love that meeting. What are we going to call it? See, never say. You said never say never. Let's call it never say never again.
I think that's literally how it went.
You guys are weird.
Sorry. Fair.
Fair. We are
Gen
in a
Xers,
room
man.
with a
Two
rack
Gen
of
Xers
sleep
in a room.
masks, though. So,
Yeah. Who's really weird?
Yeah, listen, my wife. That's the weirdo.
Sorry.
Really?
Didn't mean to.
Yeah, finger point.
You fairly don't look old enough to be Gen X. You look
I am.
fantastic. How old are you?
It's 45.
You don't look it.
Yeah.
You look
It's
great.
a lot
We
of
both
rum.
look great. I'm assuming you're a millennial.
Yes.
Yes. I constantly make fun of her for it. So yes.
Oh, okay.
But she is the most put together, one of the most put together, actually two of the most put together millennials that I know are in this room.
Really?
So yeah.
Because all I hear about is drinking, smoking, shouldn't be driving.
Oh no, she
and
can
I
put
did
together
complain.
a blunt. Sorry, that's what I was referring to. She can build a joint of sorts. That's her putting together. No, she's very well
I
put
can
together.
build a snowman.
Yeah. Barely.
I'm listening.
Nothing.
No.
I teach children. I shouldn't say that. You taught people, didn't you?
I still technically do.
You'd still do. Is there ever a time you're teaching where you think like I don't know anything about this? I'm gonna have to fake it till you. What's the subject?
Imposter syndrome. Well, I taught theater, like a general theater, kind of like academic theater. I taught improv. I taught acting, stage design. That's when I felt I feel like I can do stage design, but I didn't feel like I was very good at teaching it because you really have to plan.
Yeah, I got
You
failed
can't
that
just
class.
go in and wing it.
Right, you have to know terms and machinery and how things. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, a lot of this stuff with podcasting and like it's pretty similar, and you can fake. I taught middle school, so I could really fake it. Like they have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
You're molding minds.
I taught sewing, and I didn't know how to sew.
Yes.
I had to learn that summer real quick when I got that job. So yeah, I always find myself laughing. Or when I discover something when I'm teaching that I learn like on the spot with the kids, I'm like, oh, that's what. Oh no, that's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work.
Catalog that for next time.
Makes it easy. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I guess I started teaching in grad school. I went to a strange school where they allowed me to go into grad school while I was still a bachelor's student at the same school at Cal State Long Beach. And I taught there as a grad student illegally under the name of the chair of the department. So I can't quite explain it. So I was teaching at 21. And then when I graduated, I graduated in 98, but then in 2000, I started teaching as a job at Riverside City College. And I've taught there ever since. And then at a few other colleges as a kind of thing to always keep some steady income. And then I've stepped away from in-person teaching, I think since 2015 or 2016, because then I was starting to have less fun. The environment was getting different, I have to say. And a part of it was probably just me aging, but I finally felt the gap where I think I was holding on to like a good rapport with the students for quite a while. And then there was a point where I felt like, oh no, things are a little different now. We don't quite.
Oh my God. I love that question. I'm going to ask you it next. They are different now. Is there something that you've said recently to someone who's younger than you that made you feel old? Because they were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess. I think that was starting to happen a lot when I was teaching. Because I never would say anything incendiary or like cancelable, but I would say a lot of weird things. Because, I would somehow bring in James Bond or something. Like I would find ways to put my interest into the class because I felt like that makes it more fun for me. And I think the environment will be more fun, even if these people are interested. But the frame of reference between pop culture references really changed. And I realized, especially as a Gen X person, I live and breathe by cultural references, specifically pop culture.
Yeah.
And so I have a younger wife too. And I think sometimes we miss each other.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
You hear that?
A little bit.
No,
Keeps them young.
She's
Keeps them
12.
young.
Yeah.
Keeps them young.
Side note, I have a young wife.
So when did you turn full Hollywood?
I know, that sounds gross. I'd like to scrub that from the record. All of it.
You brought it up. I mean,
I feel that I used to, when I used to teach middle school, I was working also for Adam Carolla at the time and helping with his podcast.
Wow, that is two different worlds.
And that feels like something I would brag about with my friends or like people older than me. You tell a student Adam Carolla, they're like, who's that?
They're like, Toyota what?
Toyota Corolla?
Even that. Yeah. They would know a Toyota Corolla before Adam Carolla.
At this point. No.
Or the other day I made the perfect joke about Mensa and it was with a 24-year-old. I was like, she said something dumb and I was like, Mensa called. They're looking for you. And she's like, who's Mensa? And I was like, fuck.
We get into this on the Conan podcast because Conan's technically a boomer. I'm Gen X and Sona's a millennial. So there is a certain overlap of our references, but we often are. Conan and I connect more on references and I think in no other way because otherwise we bicker. But we are both of generations that value references, where I think millennials, and probably rightly so, are kind of like, why are you putting so much stock in this like empty?
Well, because people are in Gen X actually were watching TV when it was live.
Yeah, there was a monoculture.
Yeah, you knew the next day you wanted to talk about what you saw the day before, and then you would refer to behaviors after maybe a character from Mr. Freely, or like you would call it this or that, or Mr. Drummond, or I don't know.
Yeah.
You would make a different Strokes reference. It's like that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And then now people can absorb this information whenever they want. Choose not to. There's so much other shit to do.
It's very niche now too. Yeah, and bubbled.
yeah. Like I can reference Golden Girls all day, dude. That's
I can't do that.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
You
You
can't
missed
or
out.
You won't.
I won't. Correction.
I think that's the right choice. And that's fair.
Do you guys
good.
are you guys representing the other generations at Conan's podcast at all? The younger ones?
Like Gen Z?
Yeah. What's the next ones? Gen Z.
I have
and
no idea.
What?
Alpha.
Who's Alpha?
That's my daughter.
Her daughter. I mean, his daughter. Oops. Well, her daughter. I was talking about his wife.
His young wife's daughter.
His young wife's daughter.
That's an alpha.
I really want to strike that from the record, because I also want to blame Eddie. I think that this is a little bit daiquiri, but a lot of it Hemingway.
I mean, he was a diabetic, so let's just it doesn't have any sugar.
You need a shirt.
Any added sugar.
Have you ever thought about making a company with all your slogans like that? That's a lot of.
I don't even want to admit this, but I used to have a T-shirt.
Oh.
Amazing.
Not a company. What would you call it? Like a concern. How they used to call like old companies. I have a T-shirt concern. An oil and
You were watching
mining
Tombstone.
concern.
That's what it was. It's from Tombstone. Yeah.
I don't even want to go into it because it's just an embarrassment.
Oh, those are the best. That just makes you enjoy what you don't embarrass yourself doing
I
now.
just think you have really good sayings, and you
Yeah.
should have them all on T-shirts. I mean, you're a spokesperson for what, Volkswagen? What does it feel like to have a company want to work with you? What's
You
that?
okay?
Yeah.
What's that like?
I'm sure there's no drunk videos of him circulating on the internet.
I know.
Megan.
And in fact, I remember really having to have a long discussion with my agent about, can I do drunk history while being a spokesperson for a car company?
Smart.
That's
I mean, that's a
true.
good. It's a smart move.
Good
yeah.
thought. Yeah.
Somehow.
And the answer worked out?
I think the answer was right around that time was when the Volkswagen fraudulent diesel emission scandal hit.
And they're not worried about you.
So no, and my contract there ended because I was doing all the commercials for all those fraudulent cars.
And you didn't know.
I know. Of
course not.
I knew. I was heading it.
I'm
I was
sure.
making it happen.
Absolutely.
Well, companies have done.
I forgot
done
the
worse.
degree
You
is
spoke.
It was bad.
mechanical engineer.
But I did not know, and that's what ended I think I did 3 or so years of that job, and then unfortunately that seemed to be what ground that whole company to a halt. But then they seemed to have bounced back completely. Like nothing happened.
Well,
My
so
wife
did-
owns a Volkswagen.
So did Subway
My
after
very young
Jared.
wife.
So let's
I
be
mean,
real.
true.
I mean, call back a little bit.
I
but
know.
you know what really doesn't help the situation with Subway? Jared's still alive and well, right? In jail. And he ate Subway like all the time, right? Morgan Spurlock, really healthy guy, did 30 days of McDonald's, dead. McDonald's.
Well, there's all
needs to
those.
think about.
We've all seen that picture of that burger that's like 40 years old, and it looks exactly the fucking same on like a little.
Yeah.
It
It doesn't make sense. There is no God. Jared's alive, but Morgan's not. Come on. Anyway, I'm done. Go ahead. That was
I'm done. So you worked at Disney World, and I guess or Disneyland.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Disneyland.
that's what inspired your show. Keys to the Kingdom. By the way, I love the logo for folks listening at home. Jump on wherever you get your freshly squeezed podcasts and look up the podcast and see the tape to tape. Real Mickey ears. It's just great.
Thank you.
Was that your idea for that logo?
I did the logo.
That's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
That is such a great logo. So I was like,
you.
oh fuck yeah.
There's a version that's way more Mickey Mouse, and we had to scale it back for fear of
course.
litigation. Yeah.
Understood. Anything with anything around around the mouse is kind of scary. What was your inspiration to like shed a light on that world?
Because Amanda, my wife, and I, my very young wife. I mean,
extremely.
You do practice Sharia law.
yes, you guys have seen House of the Dragon. She and I both worked at Disneyland, though we never met, and we worked there for years at the same
wow.
time. And then I did one summer job at Universal Studios doing improv performance there, and that's where we met. but she was a princess, and I did improv shows at Disney. And we then wrote a pilot for Fox, a fictional pilot about working at a theme park, and kind of like when you age out of it, there's kind of a notorious rite of passage. When you age out of the princess role at Disney, you become like a fairy godmother or an evil queen or work at the churro cart. And if you put on weight, you temporarily are relieved to other places in the park. These things don't happen
Country
as
Bear
much
Jamboree,
anymore.
maybe?
Basically, yeah, it could be. And so we realized we had all these stories and we had all these friends with these stories, and we thought, let's do a podcast about all the crazy shit that goes on behind the scenes at theme parks and how kind of crazy the world is. And it is.
No, and I love like there's masking of voices. It feels like very like Joe Pesci's gonna take you out into a cornfield if they hear your voice. Well, sorry, Joe Pesci with like Mickey ears is gonna take you out to a fucking cornfield and just take care of you. And oh my god, which one was that? I was listening to. It was a girl who was she was a Cinderella, and she was talking about the creeper because her eyes were the color of the real Cinderella, and this guy wanted to murder.
Snow White. Yeah,
oh,
she
Snow
had
White.
brown
I'm so sorry.
eyes.
Yes,
and there
Snow
was
White.
She went away for vacation, and another Snow White came in, I think, with blue eyes. And this fan, said to the other Snow White, "I should try to kill her because she had the wrong color eyes." So yeah, you are dealing with some fairly unstable people at times.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've made fun of this before, and I have friends that do this, so I've taken a lot of heat from this earlier. But there's a certain age where unless you have kids, you can go to Disney, ride the rides, and all that fun stuff. But if you're there with the like monogrammed Mickey hat, and there's a lot of things, if the Epcot Food and Wine Festival, and then you're I was like, I think you're just too old for it.
I know.
You got to put it behind you.
There's a certain cultish behavior to certain demographic of fans and a lot of people that work there. They work there, I think, in a sense, some of them, to be part of a fairy tale and not kind of have to deal with reality. And I get it. We all have that. Some people, it's religion, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of a harmless way. But when you work there, you can see the Kool-Aid eyes of people. And they'll come in, managers will come in and go, "Is everybody having a Disney day?" And it's just kind of like, oh God, I'm
like, I didn't know Tom Cruise worked there.
Oh, it's kind of, yeah. But without any charisma.
Yeah.
Every ounce of creepiness.
Disney scares me. And my first real run-in with working for Disney was I did background on a Fox show. It was owned by Disney or whatever, and I got COVID. I didn't know I had COVID. I felt fine, but they were doing tests before every single show. So I felt fine. I go in, I take the test, I go home, and the test came back and it says you're positive for COVID. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess I have COVID. I had no idea. And then I get a text message from Disney, and they're like, were you able to take look at your test results? And I was like, yes. And they're like, do not, exclamation point, come into work tomorrow. Do not be there. You are not allowed on set. Exclamation point. And I said, thank you. I hope I feel better too. That's literally what I texted back. I haven't heard back from Disney.
That's Disney.
You're still alive.
That's
scare
fine. Me.
Yeah.
They're scary. They're a little scary.
Was there ever a time where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm scared?
They're listening to my phone calls.
No, because I worked in this group that was part of a union. It wasn't a great union. It was called the American Guild of Variety Artists, and Phyllis Diller was the president, and it was just otherwise, jugglers in vaudeville, basically. But it was a union, and so we weren't kind of beholden to like the rank and file Disney stuff. So we had a little bit of separation from there, and we got benefits, and it paid really well. It was a really good job, but the Disney corporate hierarchy and the management system is super passive aggressive and fear based. And so they would come in and everything was like, back then, now you can kind of have facial hair and long hair, but back then you couldn't. And they'd kind of be like, okay, what? See, didn't shave today, huh? Okay. And
it was for the Yankees. Seriously, no facial hair.
No. And it was there. You could see in them that they were afraid their boss was going to get mad at them because someone under them hadn't shaved, and they were just full of fear. Yeah.
That's
flight attendants used to be that strict too. Tattoos, how you wore your hair, your body size, your height. Yeah. They were so specific on what they were looking for. And now I feel like they'll take anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they need
them. Yeah.
Especially Spirit Airlines or Southwest. Who actually, Southwest are actually quite entertaining.
Should I keep it to myself that Spirit Airlines rejected me? Should I? Is that a?
You should have.
It's too late.
Yeah,
Oh.
you should have.
Ooh.
On that note, on the note of rejection, actually, I'm gonna take you guys through a little
Shit.
rum tasting because it's here in front of us.
Subject change, quick.
Well, but you know,
It was a long time ago. Okay.
well, no, it's just I got my little upside down fucking pineapple shot glasses.
Which one do it?
So starting from left to right,
Okay.
and we're so I'll give it a whiff first. Ooh, We're drinking Añejo Blanco rum. This is what was in the Hemingway. So double-aged rum, minimum 1 year, then blended, aged about another 2 to 3 months, charcoal filtered, which is why it's clear, but it's going to have a texture of something that's aged a little bit, like a whiskey if you would put that out there in that sense, just more viscosity. Yeah, so like light tropical notes.
I like rum.
This is like Spanish style rum. It's this is Havana Club Añejo
You and
Blanco.
Jack Sparrow.
That's what we're drinking. I know. And then don't worry. I'm just moving you through because I was like, fuck, I'm gonna forget to.
Oh,
Megan,
this is great.
now's where you drink a little bit of water.
Oh, I drank it all.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're
Are we
keeping you
cleansing
hydrated.
my palate?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, well, we needed to cleanse it from the cigarettes, but that's fine.
I
We'll
didn't smoke today.
yet.
I didn't smoke yesterday either.
Oh, good.
I didn't smoke on Wednesday either.
Whoa.
I smoked 2 packs on Tuesday to make up for it.
And will again tomorrow.
and I
Thank
will
you very much.
tomorrow.
So this is the next one is in the middle. So I'm like plowing through these because I'm like, let's just fucking try some rum. This is also double aged. This is it's Añejo Clásico, and it's just got an extra few months in barrel after the double aging, and it doesn't have the same charcoal filtering, which is why it's got a little bit of color. Yeah. So this has got like cola, apricot notes. The first one you're thinking like just tropical fruit.
Once it hits your lips.
It's so good.
Good.
God, I miss the days of like movies like Old School and Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
Fuck, those were great.
Oh, Knocked Up. You reminded me of Knocked Up when the passive aggressive. You just need to be a little, not lose weight, just tighter.
A little bit.
Just a little tighter.
A little bit. A little bit.
I love those.
All right,
quotes.
and then the last one. Sorry, this is the one I'm excited about the most, just because it's a limited production, so it already is not. It's not available anymore.
It's already gone?
It's already gone.
And I have it here?
You have it here. So this is the Havana Club Original Proof. This is the same recipe from 1934 when the brand came out. Same proof, which was 86 proof. 3 to 5 year rums.
But am I mistaken that Havana Club is now Puerto Rican rum because you can't get Cuban rum?
Yes and no. So Havana Club started in 1934 in Cuba.
Okay.
During the Cuban Revolution, or the first day of Castro taking power, he nationalized the company and stole it from the original family. He took their name off the bottle, took the family crest off the bottle, and then essentially the owners of Havana Club, the ones that were still surviving, were thrown in prison. Then he kept the company. Through a series of events, they fled Cuba, took the original recipe with them. And then after the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, the Cuban government was losing money from the Soviets. They put out a kind of essentially an ask to see who wanted to work with them. Pernod Ricard said, yeah, we'll work with you guys, and did a 50-50 deal, which is like unheard of, to produce a rum called Havana Club. Same factories where they used to make it, different recipe, different rum, and sold it globally. And then the family who founded it, that was forced to flee to the United States, they had no support to continue to make rum. They were the last surviving guy. He was a mechanic in Miami. These were aristocrats in Cuba who employed thousands of people. He was a mechanic, and his wife was a secretary. Crazy. Her name was Amparo. His name was Ramona Rechavala.
I love this.
And then imagine he goes, and let's say he goes to, I don't know, he goes on a fucking trip to Mexico. He goes on a cruise, and all of a sudden he sees Havana Club on a shelf, and it's not his anymore.
Jeez.
Even though the Cuban government still made it, but they weren't mass distributing it around. It was just in Cuba. But then when they signed that deal, they got the distribution through Pernod Ricard, which is a huge company. He goes to the Bacardi family, which was his biggest competitor, and he asks for support. They see what's happening, and the Bacardis said, we're going to help you remake this rum. And he had the original recipe, which nobody else had. He was the only person that had it. And it was the only thing besides the clothes on his back that he took with him to the United States when he left Cuba. Wife, kid, clothes on his back, recipe. That's all he had. And he gave the recipe to the Bacardis. He dies in 2010. This rum does not make it to the market again until 2016. And he never got to see his rum on the market again. His wife, Amparo, is still alive. His kids are still alive. And
But is his rum a Bacardi rum now?
it's owned by Bacardi, but it's the same recipe from Havana Club in 1934.
And what's it called?
Havana Club.
Oh, and that's what this is?
But it's made in Puerto Rico. It's made in exile.
Okay.
Not by
So
choice, but by...
But the Puerto Rico version then is pretty much the
exact same
original
one.
pre-Castro
It's the original
Cuban.
pre-Castro one.
This is how we got talking.
That's how we got talking.
Because
yeah.
I had made a cocktail we do a summer series for Conan called Summer S'mores with Conan and the Chill Chums, and I make a cocktail. That's actually happening right now as we speak, but it was last year where I made the Ginger Menace, which was a rum-based cocktail based on Conan, and then
that makes sense. The Ginger Menace, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we're tasting is exactly what it would have tasted like in 1934 when it came out. Same aging process, under the same Caribbean sun, but again, made in exile because they can't make it in
so
Cuba
happy
anymore.
To be here.
So this is that's why I wanted to make sure I told Matt that because that's literally how we communicated.
Welcome to Kill the Bottle.
Yeah, welcome to Kill the Bottle.
I hate the bottle. I want to kill it.
If you can imagine, I had a bunch of the other Havana Club, and when I learned this story, my family's from Cuba. My family was forced out of Cuba in exile. My parents went through this, so I am I won't touch it. I won't buy it. I won't. This is the Havana Club I drink.
I love. Okay, I'm so glad to know this.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I find most people just don't know, and then once you know, you're like, duh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay,
so
My parents grew up in Nebraska.
that's all right.
mine grew up in La Habra.
Oh, but you grew up in Whittier.
I did. That's right.
I
Second
wish they were
generation
exiled
California.
from Nebraska. They weren't. They chose to move.
You were exiled from Nebraska.
I'm not allowed in the state of
Special
Nebraska.
cheers on that.
Prost.
Yes,
Cheers to that.
prost.
Cheers to that. So, like I said, a little bit older rums, again, charcoal filtered. But this was inspired by Prohibition. This was inspired by all the expats that came to Cuba during Prohibition and got involved in the cocktail culture in Cuba. And then after Prohibition ended, this family, the Arechavala family, came up with Havana Club to kind of honor that time period in Cuba.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Anyway, salud,
I love
motherfuckers.
it. That was great.
That was the most abbreviated story ever. I felt like that guy from Micro Machines.
I also
was
feel
like,
like-
"Oh,
Yeah. Oh my
I'm
God.
glad you knew that, but I also feel like if you were short on time, you could have just been a yes or no.
that's okay.
And you know what I love about this? Because there's no answer to this question. This is my favorite of the three, and I can't tell is because that story enriched it, or I
the
like
other two
power
are
of
the other
suggestion,
two-
or I really like it. But
You
You know,
know,
the
Eddie
other two are the
does.
same recipe, Matt. The other two are the same recipe. It's just they're 80 proof because when it came to market, they didn't want to bring out an 86 proof.
this is
Traditionally,
86 proof,
That one's 86.
and that's
the first
why I
two
like
are
it.
80.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but it really doesn't taste that hot. It
No,
does not.
somehow tastes smoother to me.
Isn't that what? Well, it's also because it's got older rums in it. Once you get the little bit of more age, that oak barrel,
But
like
I'm
that's
not
with
that
anything.
sophisticated. I shouldn't be able to tell that. You know, I don't know what it is.
Maybe your story sponsors.
Yeah, can we sponsor us, guys?
Hi,
Thanks.
guys.
Good times.
Huh?
Anyway,
Maybe,
hi.
All
it may
three
be
of
the
us.
way Ed.
All three of us.
Maybe the way Eddie speaks about the
I
alcohol.
sold
makes
fraudulent Volkswagens. I can do something for your run.
That's right. You sure did.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it might help if I stop talking
Man,
shit about
I
companies.
did a Mazda commercial with the fucking Liberty Mutual guy, and now I'm like, as much money as that dude is making, I'm also like, fuck, man. He's like the Verizon guy at this point. He's like the Can You Hear Me Now?
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know.
You're an actor as well, then.
I was.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
get
okay.
no bullshit. Once an actor, always an actor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
studied theater, musical theater, did all that. And I was going to ask you this because I find myself going through this now. I miss the stage. I don't have time to commit to a theater.
Yeah, me either.
I miss working on TV in that aspect. Now I do more hosting in this world.
Yeah.
Did you find, or do you find yourself yearning for that? Do you find moments where people kind of overlook that you exist in that world because they only know you as this?
I'll take
Because that
that
happens
one.
to me.
Okay, thank you. Please do. I would appreciate it.
No, go ahead. I was joking.
You know, I think actually getting back to what you were saying earlier, kind of like stay in your lane. I've never known a lane, and for that reason, I've never fully driven in a lane. So I've never expected one of these lanes for people to say like, recognize me in that lane. And I think I am embarrassingly a little bit of a path of least resistance. So when podcasting
Smart
came
man.
along, I was like, are you saying I can stay home? And talk to my friends about things I'm interested in, and somehow there's an income in that? Well, the rest can just go away. That's
Right. Why
fine.
would you do anything else?
I don't have that drive and that ambition to be known or to be famous. If anything, maybe it makes me slightly a little edgy. So
I get that.
Podcasting is perfect for me. And like you, I have a backyard studio, and now that is just kind of, I think I'm really happy. Yeah, there's like 10% of me kind of going like, well, what if you did a little bit of work or something like that? And I work hard on the things I do, but I'm slightly a homebody. I'm really kind of reclusive and slightly introverted, which is also kind of ironic for what I do, but I like being with my family and I like having a day job where I go podcast, and that's good for me at this point, I think.
But it's got to be super liberating. Like what was, or first off, how long from start to your first check? Doesn't have to be a big check, but your first check. And then secondly, I know right now the podcast market is so saturated, but is there any nuggets of advice that you have for people starting out?
Good question. Well, I did a lot of commercial auditioning for years and years after school, and it didn't take. And then suddenly it just kind of turned on, and I think it was like I started doing some commercials, and then I didn't enjoy it. It's not like creative, it's not fun, and it's not like, oh, I'm an artist, I have to do this. That's not the field for it. But I was kind of like, this is gross. I'm driving all over town and it's kind of weird. And then I said to my agent, I said, I'm done. I quit. And she goes, well, I have this one more audition for 6 commercials for Volkswagen. Do you want to go on it? And they asked for you because of Super Ego. Wow, and I went, and I just didn't give a damn. And I wasn't like dismissive of it, but I just went, okay, I'll just be me. And the true me is a little weird, and that doesn't fly in commercials usually. And then that got it. And then that led to like 34 of those Volkswagen commercials. And so there was a certain amount of like, my advice for that would be, if you can, it's the hardest thing to do, but if you can walk into an audition and not need it, that's the best place you can be, because you're allowed to kind of just relax and do a performance that you think would be best. I guess.
It's like dating, because if you're around somebody that's desperate, they're not attractive.
No,
so
truly.
It's the same thing. Casting people, if you look desperate, they're not attracted to you.
Yeah. And for podcasting advice, it is kind of saturated right now, and kind of probably the bubbles burst a little bit. So I always say, like, don't get into podcasting for money or for a career. Do it because you enjoy it, because then it's like a win-win. You're going to do a good job because you're doing something that you enjoy, like you are. You guys like drinking, you like talking about drinking. And that means it's going to be a good podcast. The police are waiting for me outside the house. Yeah. But there are people that get into it. I've had people reach out and go like, how do I get listeners? How do I make money off of this? And this is not that.
No,
and
it just has to come.
It has to come, but it can only come from you doing something that's fun and kind of infectious.
Oh, and do something
that makes
like.
us feel much better about things. Thank you. How many years have we been doing this? Since 2020? 2021? I don't know. Yeah.
So you started
2021.
during COVID? You started during the pandemic?
At Adam Carolla Studios. We would sleep in there, and I didn't do it in there.
Yeah,
he let me, but...
Well, Did he?
Yeah,
no,
he did.
Just kidding. He did. I brought him wine. Yeah. I brought him copious amounts of really fucking good, expensive wine.
And we had to improv, and
but
slowly
look at what you guys
about.
did.
I know. It's pretty crazy to think where we went from to here.
The infrastructure you have here, I just think this is the place to be. It's the sweet spot of you're running it on your own. It's literally on the premises of your property, and you're beholden to no one. How great is that?
It's very liberating.
Yeah.
It's very liberating. How do you stop yourself from creating another podcast when you have an idea?
It gets easier.
Does your younger wife tell you to not do it?
No, she's a podcaster.
Well, I know she is, but still, does she tell you not no more? Are you done?
No, I think we keep each other in check. And I think once we have a 2.5-year-old, almost 3. I think once that happens, you're kind of like, your limits are reached. And if I was going to do a new podcast, I would have to give up one of the current
Got
ones.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
I thought you were going to say child. I'll have to give that
The wife or the child has to go.
One of them has to go.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the podcast.
No.
So you're married and you have a child. What's that like?
As an older dad, it was a challenge. And also, because we were doing a complete rebuild of our garage to build a studio, all of my podcasting had to be done in the house, and we have a very loud young daughter. So it's been a pretty challenging couple of years. And just the past week or two is when I finally moved out and can work in the studio. And it's been, I feel like,
does that explain your
everyone.
selling of power tools?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I was looking through all the power tools. I was like, oh shit, do I need any of this? And then I've look at my fucking, can I fit? So sorry guys, inside thing. Matt on Instagram posted power tools that he was selling.
A whole suite of
great
everything.
shit.
Yeah.
Fucking great stuff. And I'm not handy. at all. My wife is super fucking handy. So I'm like, oh, what could she almost cut herself with? and what could she build shit while I'm not home? You know, that's usually how it is in this house. I go on a trip for work. I come back and there's a fucking new ceiling fan. There's a wall that wasn't there before.
My God, how wonderful.
Yeah. Little tiny Cuban woman. Just be careful.
I love it.
So is that what led to you saying I gotta shed some of this stuff?
Well, I part of the garage conversion is a dedicated workshop, and I kind of downsized some of the tools I had to more compact versions of them, and so I wanted to get rid of the versions before, the larger versions. Yeah.
What is your shitty favorite James Bond movie?
Oh, A View to a Kill. Most people think it's one of the worst. He's 57. I'm talking about a younger woman. My God, it's like it could be his grandfather, her grandfather. But I don't know. I have such a fondness for it. Christopher Walken's the villain. Grace Jones is in it.
I know. It's got Duran song in it.
It's so good and it's so bad. I think the best Bond movies are the really good ones and the really bad ones. The biggest sin of a Bond movie is it just boring down the road, middle of the road.
Were you upset at Austin Powers, or did you embrace the level of Bond fuckery?
I think what I was most upset with was kind of how Spectre kind of became a self-parody and doing things that Austin Powers had parodied. Unironically,
That's so true. Fuck me, I didn't realize. Yeah, you're right.
It's kind of like, boy, you had fair warning and you're still pulling this off.
I want sharks with freaking laser beams.
Yes,
you know, it's
yes.
like, yeah.
I mean, Blofeld's his brother. That's what Dr. Evil. You know, it's crazy.
Wow.
They were brothers. You know, it's
Fair warning.
Yeah.
What's your guys' go-to restaurant when you want to just go out? You and your wife.
We either go to the Raymond in Pasadena
Me too.
or
So good.
Houston's.
So good.
Yeah.
Have you been to Union? I always promote.
yes.
It's like my
Union's
fucking
great.
favorite restaurant, and I always miss Meryl Streep because I know the owners, and everything like, oh yeah, Meryl Streep was here 2 days ago.
I know
I'm
where
like,
she lives.
I'm like, oh,
She lives around. Now, this makes me sound like I live in a really posh area. I don't.
with a young wife
With
and
a
a
young wife.
nice big house.
Okay, Meryl Streep's
Near
my
Meryl
wife.
Streep.
I was trying
Matt
to hide
is
it.
97 years old.
Yes.
You did not know this.
Yeah, you don't look a day over 25. You're killing it.
Union is fantastic.
It's so good. Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be a regular somewhere, and the closest I have to that is going to the Raymond because I know one waiter there, Cliff. Shout out to Cliff.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a message to come with me to the Speakeasy at the 35er that called 10 Quarter.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
Yeah.
I know about the 35er.
There's a Speakeasy under the 35er.
I know of it, but I've never been.
You'll get a random DM and be like, hey.
Oh.
You know, if you're listening to a child that is too loud and a wife that is too young, and you would like a beverage, I will be here.
Okay,
from X
good to
amount.
know.
Yeah, it's a Pasadena's the shit, guys. In case you didn't
really
know,
is. And have you been to Bistro 45?
I was there last night.
Oh my god.
I was there yesterday having a old Cuban cocktail, which is like a mojito with sparkling wine instead of. That's a really loose term for it. Mojito strained in a coupe, let's say. And then it's topped with prosecco versus sparkling water.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
So I was
Cuban
I may have
cocktail
been
at a French restaurant in Pasadena.
I may have had to give direction on how to make it, but
okay, fair enough.
and I may have had to buy a few of them so everybody could try one. But I'm also one of those people, so I'm also like,
I
you've
love
never
that
had this.
little horseshoe bar they have there, and
It's
I like
incredible.
just sitting and eating there.
So yeah, guys, Pasadena is the absolute shit. Megan will shit on it just because she has to drive out here.
I don't shit on it.
I'm-
People shit on Hollywood Boulevard for sure, but I don't
Literally shit on Hollywood Boulevard.
I do not shit on Pasadena.
I went to Musso and Frank the other day for the first time, and I feel like so late to the game. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the oldest restaurant, by the way, on Hollywood. The oldest.
Yeah,
the
1919.
oldest. Yeah.
is what
You
I,
are late to the game.
Second to
100%.
Tam
Like
O'Shanter.
over 100
Is
years.
Tam O'Shanter older?
I don't know, but that's a good question. I need to
that's
look that up.
Yeah.
Well, Musso and Frank's advertised.
You know
it
what
on
Tam
the side of
O'Shanter is
their
next to though,
building.
Megan?
What?
Costco.
Jesus
I've
Christ.
got a little bit
Little
left.
bit left. Next to Costco and Los Feliz, it really is. Anyway, sorry. I was like, oh, I know where it is. Hold on.
Yeah,
No, exactly.
So what did you eat at Musso and Frank?
Musso and Frank, I had the steak tartare. I had the fucking mountain of the shoestring fries. There's nothing shoestring about them, but they were great. And then I went to go see Boogie Nights in 70 millimeter because I'm a nerd that way.
yeah.
And it was
That's a perfect pre-dinner though to that movie. Just so you know, because of like the era.
Yeah,
kinda
the era of the
feels
indulgence.
like-
I
yeah.
just watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and so it's featured in that film.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was and I remembered it was in it and I couldn't remember. I was with my friend. And he's like, yeah, when he meets with Pacino and he goes to like the booth with Pacino and Brad Pitt sits at the bar because he's the stuntman and he's just hanging out. He's like, that's at Musso and Frank. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. That is right. And then in your head, you're like, oh yeah, Al Pacino is in the, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh fuck. I'm sitting there the whole time. Martini number 2, I was like, okay, I need to go see Boogie Nights because there is no vermouth in their martinis. It's just alcohol, ice, and I do it dirty, so olives and olive juice.
You have to. I mean, they serve it non-dirty where it's just what? Just gin or just vodka or both?
Just gin or just vodka, like stirred. So it's basically watered down gin or watered. You have to ask for you have to ask for vermouth if you want vermouth.
I would never ask for anything but the alcohol.
Absolutely. She's like, ice,
vermouth, I guess,
overrated.
is technically kind of.
Can you just put the alcohol in the freezer?
Can you just pour me a glass of vodka?
That's really all Megan.
Do you have kerosene?
No, but we have some rubbing alcohol in the back.
Oh,
I have to make a terrible admission, and I will count you among friends because when I drink to a certain extent, there is a point where my nose starts running. And that's starting to happen. And it's like a tell in poker of like, I don't have a hand. So
really?
Whatever. I'm just yours.
I think Megan and I just have super livers.
Yeah.
Really. We're like the LeBron James of livers.
Pretty funny. We've got some pretty funny people drunk on the show. Like they drank a little too much when we were talking to them and they start.
But fuck, I feel bad because I didn't, but I'm so out of touch with it because I didn't feel like I poured that much.
Well,
I found myself
like
pouring.
I'm drunk. I'm just, when I have a maybe around 2 drinks, which I think this drink and the 3 shots
about 2 drinks,
is about when my nose starts to
yeah. And when I smoke weed, it's not like I'm really high. I just eat a lot of things.
You just eat a lot of things. But are you allergic?
You
I
could
have
be allergic.
allergies, but I'm not. If you're telling me I'm allergic to rum, then
There's maybe something in the rum.
I'm not worth.
That's a movie. That's a title of something. Something in the rum.
Something in the rum.
Let's do it.
That's good. That's like a novel title.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that.
Hemingway.
So funny.
Something in
I was like, I had a whole other like thought process of like chatting with you, and then I stumbled upon the James Bond, and I'm like fucking like I'm balls deep in it.
Sure, yeah.
I have one last James Bond question, and
for God's
do you
sakes.
get the fuck out of here? Don't leave. Do you have a favorite James Bond rumor? Like, they always rumor that this person's going to be James Bond. And was there somebody you got excited about?
Well,
because I remembered one for me. But
like recently, I did get really excited that Idris Elba could be Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he could totally do that.
He's, I think the only issue is that he's getting up there in years. But I have this.
Not like Roger Moore in that movie.
I know. And even like Idris Elba at 57 is not Roger Moore at 57.
True,
He
that's
is
fair.
A stout individual.
Yeah.
But I have this desire that they would do a series of one-offs that are not sequential and they're different actors every time. So you do Michael Fassbender in the 50s.
Ooh.
It's a period set Bond. You do Idris Elba in like the 90s.
It's like Black Mirror meets Bond.
Basically, or they're just episodic one-offs, you know?
Yeah.
And you could then you can experiment a little bit more with not only actors and different types, but genre and things like that. But I would love to see a period Bond again. Because you kind of saw, I don't know if you saw X-Men First Class. Michael Fassbender played Magneto, but
he's
kind
great.
of like a Bond, 60s Bond in that movie.
He's such a good actor, and maybe I'm just off in the sense where I don't see him working as much.
No,
and whenever
he's
I see
driving
a dude,
race cars.
Yeah, I'm like, whenever I see people that don't work that much, I'm like, is he an asshole? You know what I mean?
know. No.
That's usually the thing. I'm like, are they a fucking asshole?
I
And
think
nobody
that
wants
too,
to work with them.
That actors that disappear, but you have to take into account that there's probably about 2% of people that are just like, no, I want to have a life. I want to live at home with my family. And then I think those are heroes. Those people, amazing that you could walk away from that and kind of go, I'm content at home. Or maybe it gives me anxiety, which is kind of like how I feel about acting, a little bit of like, I don't think I enjoy that.
Well, I wonder if that happened to Paul Newman too, because he was just so into racing and
salad dressing
and fucking charitable salad dressing. Yeah. What?
No, I worked alongside Paul Newman's race cars for a while.
You did?
Because Adam
Wouldn't
Carolla,
you stay in your lane?
Adam Carolla
literally.
collected them, so my office was in that museum.
Yeah, it's like, tell me you're rich without telling me you're rich. Oh, this is my fucking Paul Newman race car collection.
And that's my office next
Yeah.
door.
Did we lose that in the divorce?
At
Anyway,
the
sorry.
automotive museum?
No, Adam Carolla had a little museum in Glendale with all of the cars he collected from
With a bar.
Paul Newman. And he did a whole documentary about Paul Newman and everything. The racing life of Paul Newman. I shouldn't promote him. I mean, I did get fired.
No, yeah, you shouldn't.
Well,
that.
you're promoting Paul Newman.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, Newman's
that's
own.
worthy.
And that charitable fucking...
It's just funny because I do have like people like, I think, Aaron Shelby. from Shelby Mustangs, like the grandson or whatever. Like he follows me. Like I have weird car people in my life. That,
Interesting.
I should stay in my
So drinking in cars really is
drinking cars. It's a thing. We're the same person. Let's be real. We both worked for a big podcaster who's a little more successful, but it's fine. It's good.
No,
We're good. We're the same
just
person.
kept his mouth shut.
So
I'm not good at it, which
Matt,
is why I got fired. Anyway.
Whittier, California, homegrown to this part of the world. What is your perfect day? If you could just teleport around LA, perfect day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, throw in some cocktails in there if you want. But what is that ideal thing for you?
I mean, it's going to be hard for me not to say I'm eating a burrito at 3 different Mexican restaurants.
Why not?
But I will say breakfast at home.
Okay.
I believe.
What's on the menu?
I believe in that. Because
This
I
is
feel
where
like
the like real middle class Matt is going to come out. And
Okay.
I just want like my childhood sugar cereals for breakfast.
Okay.
And like a Fruity Pebbles. And I want to, for my birthday, because I've been trying to eat healthier later in life, but for my birthday, I wanted to introduce my daughter to, we got like Crunch Berries, we got Fruity Pebbles, I'm trying to remember what the other one was. And I just exposed her to sugar cereals for the first time. And she was just, her mind was blown.
generic
How
or
cute
name
is that?
brand.
Name brand.
Okay.
You didn't get any-
I
I
didn't know how
said
middle
middle
class
class,
we were
not
getting
working
there.
class. My God.
What are the ones from Pulp Fiction? It's
Lucky
like Fruit
Charms.
Brute.
Yeah, Fruit Brute, but that's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I'd never seen that until
No,
Pulp
you know
Fiction.
why? I dug into this at one point. Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, and Fruit Brute were these kind of regional cereals that weren't always out, and they were seasonal, and it was a really kind of like chance whether you'd happen upon them.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was strange. And then I want to save my favorite I'll go for a late lunch, either Cacao, Mexicatessen, and Eagle Rock, the bean and cheese burrito.
Good. Oh my God, it's so good.
best.
Sorry, I'm so happy you said that.
And then in the South Beaches of Long Beach, where I lived for years and my wife is from, my very, very young, I mean, scandalously so white. I don't even want to, I can't even tell you
Yeah.
the desperation.
It's a
in
Mississippi marriage is
Yes.
what we call it. Yeah.
There's a chain of restaurants called Supermax that are just the
I haven't been.
bean and cheese burrito is my favorite. Can you put my mouth?
Yeah, talk to me 3 hours after a burrito.
This is great, guys.
Let me talk about my mouth. And then for dinner, I think I would go to the Raymond because it's a really old craftsman house, and the staff there, they're so nice. It's just such a great atmosphere. They have wonderful cocktails, and I really like the food.
Yeah, it is one of the, it's been actually rated one of the best places in LA to get a cocktail, which is kind of fun to see, to see the hood kind of popping up and the Raymond bean. I took Megan to dinner at the Raymond, and we had a great time. It's great. I mean, I've been there several times, and it is true to see the evolution of the cocktail there, and it's a place you go back and you're like, "Oh, cool, they changed the menu."
Yes.
Let's see what's on there now.
And they changed the cocktails, and there's always one that's named after like an not obscure, but a kind of deep dive indie rock song. So like there'll be like a Camera Obscura song that has the same title as the thing, and I always ask, is this from that? And even the waiter's like, I don't know.
Oh, that's
Our craft cocktail person made it, but Lloyd, I'm Ready to Be Heartbroken, which is a wonderful song, and then there's a cocktail named that, and it does taste like heartbreak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I've tasted heartbreak.
Oh yeah, we all have. Yeah, it's a drink best served fucking tepid, lukewarm.
I spit.
Matt, where can people find you in not a creepy way?
Just straight at my house.
Okay,
and I'll
good.
just say the address right now if they want to come over.
So he is at Matt
Tell them
Gourley.
I'll come to them.
Yeah, he'll come to you. If it's 10 minutes away from his house and you have a bar in the garage, he will show up.
I will. That was the best.
At Matt Gourley on Instagram. That's Gourley, Matt with 2 T's, Gourley. And please check him out on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, Keys to the Kingdom. I fucking forgot the James Bond title.
Oh, it's just James Bonding.
Oh, James Bonding.
Oh my God.
God, all the puns.
Jeez. Perfect.
Two things. We like to end the show the same way. That the only thing we don't get back in life is time, and we want to thank you and acknowledge you for spending a little bit of your precious time with us here
You
on
owe me.
Kill the Bottle podcast. We sure do. But I got that covered.
We'll come to
and
your house.
Okay.
We'll bring
I
the
like
booze.
it.
Guys, please like, rate, review, subscribe, and just thank you again for spending a little bit of time. I wanted to thank you again. I have all of these rums for you to take home.
Oh my God.
It's like Oprah, except it didn't fit under your fucking chair. So here
I
you
don't
go.
want
Oh
a
my
car.
God,
I
that
want
would have
these
been the
rums.
best.
These
if I
are
put it
all
under
for you,
your-
man.
Thrilled. You guys, this has been really fun. I will come back anytime.
Oh, cheers. Thank you so much, Matt. Kill the Bottle podcast, guys. I totally did not facilitate his drinking.
Yeah, if you have any single friends, by the way, just send them my way.
Let me think about that.
Yeah, guys who like the one day tanning. Anyway, see you next week, guys. Kill the Bottle podcast.
What is this? No way, I'm not done. We're still here. What is this? Just a cocktail stirrer?
That is a mojito spoon, but that is a replica of the 1920s mojito spoons from Cuba that the vintage Cuban bartenders would use, the cantineros. And then there's a perfect mojito recipe there with it. Yeah. So if you look up old like black and white pictures of the bartenders wearing the ties and the like pin, those are the spoons that they used.
This is heaven.
And then that tells you basically the story I told you about the rum, and then in the back there's cocktail recipes.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you, listeners. You may go now.
See you next week, y'all.